party's platform of slash and burn. Don't raise any taxes. Let's don't do anything. Let's just sit back and let's suck off the federal government, which is what they've done in our county. But no, the disparity of the way the money is spent in our county is something that I do want to look into, and I will. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, in the city of Orange, I'm told that we cannot even get a street repaired unless we get a grant.
Yeah.
It has to be grant money.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen so many people that down in the government.
Well, that's good management of money, isn't it?
And every day they're writing a grant to send me some more.
Yes. I was told the very same thing by an official in our county government, that we could not exist. We could not run this courthouse without federal money.
We asked the man
to
fix a street.
So that federal money that they're talking about is the deficit.
Exactly. And grants.
And that is the very thing that they're screaming about, yet they're tapping into that like it's a puddle of oil and pumping out of it.
That's exactly right. And another thing too, they talk about the people that I come in contact with in our county government talk about grants all the time, like they have the money, Help America Vote Act. And that's a grant, and our county clerk is always very quick to say that she bought e-poll books, but that's not with county money, that came from a grant. I mean, did somebody just die and leave us that money? That is our tax dollars.
Well,
everybody's.
When I would think grants, and for anything city, my mother worked for the city of Port Arthur through the library. When she would write grants, it would be for supplemental things. This was in the 90s. She wrote a grant. She got
to totally fund your government.
No, not to totally fund it. She just wanted a few supplemental things for arts and stuff like that because she worked with the kids. Extra stuff, not the actual total infrastructure funding, When I think grant, I'm thinking you need something a little extra to get by. You need something a little supplemental like they do with some of the school districts and getting them bicycles or stuff like that at the end of the year when they've been good or something.
Exactly.
Oh, grants are great.
Yeah.
Hey, I hope they never.
But they should not be the total funding.
No,
Right.
they should not be the total funding of the infrastructure.
So grants are great, and I agree with that because grants have given us the ability to do things on a much larger scale than small government can do. All right, but then you got the party that's screaming about the deficit. But we look at our local government, and our local government is by and large Republican. So they're screaming about the deficit that they're running up.
Yep.
That's exactly right. But it does not, honest to God, don't think it sinks into anybody's mind.
But we don't look at local government, Vicki.
Well,
that's why, we talk county politics, we talk state, we talk federal, but when you get down to the local level where the people are tapping in and spending the money, we've got to connect that. Just like you said, nobody died and left us a bunch of money.
Yeah.
They're tapping in.
It's all double speaking. It's double speaking.
Yeah.
It's drawing out of that
Smoke and
pool
mirrors
of
is
money.
what it is. They're lies is what it is.
It draws out of that pool of money that inevitably raises the deficit. Now.
That's right.
So, and is the money being spent appropriately?
Appropriate. Now, you're right, grants are great. But, there comes a time, and Democrats know this, there comes a time, like, okay, say I work and I make 15 hours overtime. I work 1,500 hours of overtime for 5 years. Ooh, living house to house, buying the grandkids this, and going here and there and doing all that, and maybe even creating more debt. Then all of a sudden, that overtime's gone.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what do we do? I have to adjust. We have to adjust our lifestyle to those issues. I mean, and then I would like to know too about all these businesses that are moving into Lumberton. They're banks. We've had 2 banks and a credit union. I'm like, what is going on? I mean,
we have more banks in Orange County than we have.
And how much of a tax incentive did they get to build that bank? And all these other businesses that's going up along in Lumberton area, not in anywhere else in our county. Poor little, we're in the heart of the Big Thicket Preserve anyway. I don't know if we get a lot of money. Kevin Brady's got us a lot of money for that. But that doesn't grow the economy.
Well, I have a
it's
question.
a nice thing, but it does not create jobs and grow the economy.
I have a question about grants.
And we have over 10% unemployment in the county.
From the way that I understand grants, you have to apply for them.
Yes.
Somebody has to write them.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we
Is
we
there
pay
anybody
somebody
who
in Beaumont to do
oversees,
it. Yeah.
for instance, how it's determined what we're going to write a grant for?
Yes.
Who does that?
Administrative official.
In a city, it would be the city manager and his staff. They survey the whole thing and they determine where a grant is needed
Where they've got homes.
as compared to what the citizens are demanding. Let's say you got potholes in your community and everything. And
Infrastructure issues, I don't have as big a problem with.
No.
It's kind of we've got commissioner in Orange County, and he's newly elected Republican. Actually, the first Republican commissioner in Orange County is elected. And in looking into, because he was the mayor of Pine Forest, and that's what he ran on, is what a good job he did in Pine Forest. And
Pine Forest is North Vidor?
yeah, it's almost, in fact, if we could chop it off, it'd be in Hardin County.
Okay.
He got Ike money, Hurricane Ike money, to resurface 2 roads. It was a couple $1 million. Pulled out of the fund, just resurface roads because the base of the roads crumbled because of flooding. That's what the money was appropriated for, and that's the way it was written. And I've got those things right here in a file cabinet. Those roads didn't go underwater.
Oh, they didn't.
They didn't. So, we've got folks that are representing us that in our behalf are willing to lie.
Do you want to name who that was?
That's Commissioner Crump. And to lie in order to create a situation, and he ran on that. I mean, that was one of his big feathers, is look what I did.
Right.
And what he did was he lied and got money that he shouldn't have got because there were people hurt by that hurricane, and that's what that money was appropriated for. Not to resurface 2 roads in Pine Forest that never got water.
But the Republicans want smaller government. So smaller government, that's going to be a smaller piece of the pie they're going to be able to get. Don't they realize that?
Well, you can't have smaller government if you keep tapping into the pie because somebody's got to be there to cut the pie. It's double talk. It really is. And whenever we look at, and I want to broaden this up and specifically target, we're kind of shotgunning this thing, but when you look at 2 specific targets, healthcare and education. Okay, those are things that deeply affect every American. I don't care if you're Henry's age, my age. Education is important because this is the future of the country. These are the folks that we are going to compete with in this global market, yet that's the first place we start cutting funding.
The alternative is not a pretty picture.
No, it's not. We have to educate, and we can't expect quality education if, it's kind of like, I saw the president last week giving an award to the Teacher of the Year, okay? Across all the schools in the country, this lady was named Teacher of the Year, and in her interview, what she said was every other paycheck she spends to buy supplies for her classroom. Is that how you become Teacher of the Year, giving up 50% of your money because we're not going to fund education? Carol, you were telling me about a website you found that actually has a fundraising program for education.
Right, it's called DoSomething.org.
And these are people who are trying to raise money to help education. So now we have actually publicly stated that our educational system is a charity.
Right.
It's a shame that a teacher would have to buy any supplies for any student in this country.
Well, I'm familiar with the situation locally that will probably make you cry, because when we talk about education here and we talk about cuts, we're normally, I know I'm thinking about the regular classroom and about regular academics. I substitute quite a bit in life skills programs, and it's not
for a lot
good.
of folks, Carol, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Life skills.
Life skills. Who's in life skills?
Life skills are children with disabilities. Either they could be in a wheelchair because of physical disabilities. They could have autism. They could have Down syndrome. They're children who, some of them are actually able to go into regular classrooms throughout the day, but for the most part, they're kids that stay in one section of the school with a teacher and an aide. It comes under the special education department.
Because every life is important, and we educate everyone.
And I mean I mean, you could just think of it in terms of what that does to help the families of these children who are having to work.
Yes.
You know, I mean, just because your child is handicapped, it doesn't mean that you don't
All
work.
right, but we're talking about education funding. Are you saying with the cuts in funding, this program has changed in some way?
Yeah, it's changed, and I was told recently that locally that last year the $600 that was allocated for just incidental supplies that are needed in this particular classroom, things like Clorox wipes and Kleenex and laundry detergent, because they wash clothes throughout the day. They have a lot of physical needs that these children have, that cleanliness is an issue, those types of things. Well, that $600 was pulled from their budget this year. They don't have that money in their budget at all. And so one of the ladies, who's a wonderful person that has been there for a number of years with these children as their aide, she told me that fortunately she doesn't have to have all the money that she makes, which I think she said amounts to about $400 every 2 weeks. She doesn't have to have all of that for her personal needs, so she spends one of her paychecks on buying things like Clorox wipes and other necessities of that type for this classroom. And when she actually approached the head of the department about this situation, she was told, you don't really need those things.
See, but when you talk about education funding cuts, we don't talk about who's getting hurt.
No.
It's just an arbitrary number out there. Everybody tighten your belt.
Right.
This is tough times. But we don't put faces and we don't actually talk about who actually is going to be
right. And when we're talking about privatizing the public school system, or we're talking about magnet schools, or we're talking about other alternatives to places that you can place your child other than the public schools, because from my point of view, the Republican thought process on this is the same as it's been in social services, which is, we're going to take away all of your resources, prove that you can't do the job, and then we're going to privatize you for our own profit and for the profit of our friends and people that we care about. We think of that in terms of, okay, well, you know, most of these kids that are in the classroom, surely they're going to be a place for them. You know, they're going to get routed somewhere if they shut down the public schools. When you're talking about children in the life skills classroom, where are they going to go? Yeah. They're going to go either home, or they're going to go to a contracted.
Something like the Shorkey Center.
A contracted, right. And, or in the case of private, no. So, you know, it's not just able-bodied people who might be able to figure out some way to deal with all this. Sometimes it's people that are not able-bodied, people that have nobody to look out for them or care about them.
All right, and that's what happens when we talk about funding cuts in education. It's not just when you think about education, you're talking about...
You also have to think about their school lunch program. Mary, I saw you posted something this morning about one of the things that they wanted to cut was like the school lunch, and that's sometimes the only meal a kid gets.
Right.
That's a good point, Mary.
Several hundred thousand
that goes back to my,
you
know, get them born and let them die.
Yeah.
We constantly raise the limit, raise the cost of lunches at our school. I mean, that's, I've been to those meetings, the school board meetings, when that constantly having to raise the cost of a meal.
Now you take that same thought process, because we're talking about cuts in education, and now we're looking at health care, and they're talking about, you know, we've got to stop this job killing Obamacare and all that kind of stuff, but we're talking about people who are recipients of health care benefits today, people with pre-existing conditions who currently have insurance that